Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. This is a hearing on an appeal by Mr. Jerry Kirkland of 4552 Miser Station Road, Friendsville, Tennessee, regarding a citation he received from Blount County Animal Control regarding his dogs Shadow and Three Socks, and they have been declared vicious pursuant to Section 5 of the Blount County Animal Control Ordinance. Is Mr. Kirkland present? Okay. All right, the way we will conduct this hearing, first we'll have Animal Control present the reason for issuing the citation, and then the officer can call on the complainant, if you'd like, to present further evidence. Then, Mr. Kirkland, you'll be given an opportunity to speak on the matter. And then anyone else here who wants to speak on it, I'll be glad to give you some time. I do ask you to observe several things. Number one, when people are speaking, do not interrupt. Number two, do not engage in personalities, no name calling. There will be no tolerance of that at all. And I would also ask you to keep your comments to the point and brief. Okay, Mr. Campbell, Officer Campbell, if you want to get up, and if you would, identify yourself, please.
Jeff Campbell, Blount County Animal Control. This has been an ongoing situation in the Quarry Holler area. We've received 3 different complaints, mostly dogs chasing livestock. And each time I approached Mr. Kirkland and requested that he contain his animals to his property. We tried to prevent this from going this far. And each time he would keep them up for a while. And every complaint described the dogs as being a black Labrador mix. And the problem would go away for a little while, then they'd start running at large again, and then we'd get the call. But upon receiving notice from Mr. Keithley of the second attack on his domesticated animals, I issued Mr. Kirkland a vicious letter and explained everything to him. And since I issued this letter, I have been back twice, and his dogs have been contained on leashes, and that's where we're at today.
Now, the complainant, are you the complainant? If you want to come forward, identify yourself, and if you would give your address too, please.
Kevin Keithley, 3057 Quarry Hollow Road, Friendsville. This is the 3rd time I've actually met Mr. Kirkland. The first time, his dogs were on my property. They attacked my mixed terrier. I went over to Mr. Kirkland's property and told him his dogs were always on my yard, in the yard, and he said, just chase them away. And I said, I'm tired of chasing them away. They're terrorizing my dogs. When I got home, my mixed terrier had a wound on his upper shoulder. It wasn't serious. We observed that we didn't take treatment at that time, but I did mention to Mr. Kirkland that his dogs were constantly on the property, roaming at large, and that I have a second dog, a Chihuahua, and that this was going to end badly because the dogs were very aggressive. And again, I saw them viciously attack my mixed terrier. He weighs about 25 pounds, stands about a foot tall, and he was on his own yard. If possible, I have a photograph of the property, my statement, the pictures of the wounds. Sure. Pretty much just give an indication of.
And this is
Miser Station Road.
Okay. Okay. Very good.
I mentioned to him about the dogs were continually chasing him away. My concern was, my dogs, they stay on the property. And basically, before we let them out, we've got to scan the yard. Of course, there's no guarantee that after we let them out, that the dogs will show up. After that attack, I did call Mr. Campbell and reported the incident to him. And basically, I did, again, it was, for a while it was okay. In my statement to Mr. Campbell, which I attached there, I listed the dates where I had called him again, or animal control again, where it was on the 5th, about 7:30 at night. It was again on 4/12, approximately 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I called again on the 13th, about 3 p.m. And again, just reporting the dogs roaming at large. On the 7th of this month, of last month, 5/7, basically, I heard my dogs barking, in not a frantic type of way, but I looked out, I saw the two dogs racing across the yard. As I tore out of the house, I heard my Chihuahua yelping, chased his dogs away, and attached photos of the wounds that the Chihuahua received. Basically, he had surgery, required an overnight stay, stitches to his abdomen, a drain was installed, multiple bites and lacerations on his body. He was lucky to be alive. I mean, he's a Chihuahua. He weighs about 7 pounds. I put the dog in the vehicle. I then went over to Mr. Kirkland's property to see him for the second time, and I told him in very blunt terms that his dogs were terrorizing my dogs. I told him this was going to happen again if they roam at large. The dog was seriously injured. I'm taking him to the vets, and he's going to be paying for these bills. And I just also want to know that I did hand Mr. Kirkland a letter of demand for with copies of the vet bills that I've attached into that statement as well. That basically it was about $1,000, over $1,000 in vet bills. I'm not that concerned that his dogs are labeled vicious. All I want is his dogs to stay on his own property. And again, if these dogs are allowed to roam free, at large, this is going to happen again. And my concern is the next time I'm going to have a dead dog because they've been viciously attacked. And again, the dogs have aggressively attacked my dogs. I can't fault my dog for standing on his own driveway and barking at a dog. And again, when his dog lowers his head and charges my dog, and the only way I got them off is coming out screaming, yelling, and I'll chase them off. And they wander off the property. And again, here's a point where they were attacked the first time, and again, 4 times after that. Now, those are only the times I've seen them there. I can't say that they have been there other times, but it just seems to be a pattern that they're consistently allowed to roam free. And again, my concern is that his animals remain on his property, and we can avoid this from happening. This whole thing could have been avoided if his animals were contained. That's all I really have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am, do you wish to say anything?
I think I'm following.
Okay. All right.
Everything.
Okay. Mr. Kirkland, you want to come up, please? And if you would identify yourself and give your address too, please.
My name is Jerry Kirkland. I live at 4552 Miser Station Road. And I don't let my dogs run loose all the time. They stay in the house of a night. And I've been keeping them chained up here lately. But I don't like chain animals up or keep them in a pen and stuff like that. And as far as this vicious part goes, my animals are not vicious. And I don't know exactly what happened or why, but I don't think my dogs would just attack another dog unless the other dog initiated it. And that's about all I have to say about it.
Okay, thanks, sir. Sir, you want to come up? And again, if you'd identify yourself and your address.
Yeah, my name's Bob Cole. I live at 4546 Miser Station Road next to Jerry.
Excuse me, that was Bob?
Cole, C-O-L-E.
Okay,
Just like Thomas.
gotcha.
I've known Jerry, I've lived next door to Jerry for about 8 years now, and I've known his dog since the day he got Shadow and the day, you know, right after Three Socks was born. And I would say that they are far from vicious. They are the most friendly dogs I've seen. I've had, I mean, Jerry doesn't contest that. He lets them run sometimes. And they've been up to my place many times, and they've been there when I've had contractors in and everything, and I've never seen them snarl or snap or anything at anybody or myself. In fact, I would allow them to, if I had young children, I'd let them play with the young children. So I think that the real contention is, number one is, I don't think they're far from vicious. Second point is, I don't think anyone saw which dog initiated the attack and the reason for it. And one of the statements that he made was that the dog charged with its head down, but just prior to making that statement, he said he was in the house, heard the dogs yelp, and so I don't know how he saw it and then didn't see it and then came running out. But I would, what disturbs me about it is the vicious part, because I don't think they're far from vicious. And that's what really concerns me the most about this. They're two friendly, loving dogs. And I've seen them play with other dogs and other animals, and I've never seen them be aggressive towards other dogs and that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cole. Anyone else wish to speak? Certainly.
As I said, the first attack, basically, the dogs were in the yard. My dogs were barking. Barbara had called out that they're in the yard again. I looked out the window, and basically my dog was behind the car. I saw the larger of the two, the black, put his head down and charge. Again, I lost sight of them as I came down out the door around the car, but the dog was attacking my dog. And again, I chased him off. On the second one, again, I heard the second attack, I heard the dogs barking. I looked out and I saw the two dogs running across the yard. Again, couldn't see, again, because it's a deck, but by the time I got outside, and my dog is yelping, by the time I get off, the two dogs were by my dog, the Chihuahua, and again, I had to chase them off. Now, again, my concern is this whole thing can be avoided if the dogs remain on the property. Now, I've never personally felt threatened by the dogs, but there's no doubt that they attacked my dog. I saw the larger of the two dogs attacking the mixed terrier. Again, I had to yell and scream to get him off of my dog. Again, I did not see the actual attack on the Chihuahua, but I saw them charging across the yard, by the time I got out, I heard yelping, and again, they were by the Chihuahua, and I chased them away. So, in one case, I saw the dog attack my dog, the mixed terrier, and the second time, I can put two to two together.
Thanks, sir. Anything else? Okay, the first thing I need to do is read the section from the Blount County Animal Control Ordinance. Section 5, vicious dogs and cats prohibited. No person shall own, keep, harbor, or possess, or in any way maintain a vicious dog or cat, unless safety procedures, as hereinafter provided, have been implemented. If a dog or cat either attacks a person by biting or in any manner causes injury, or habitually or repeatedly attacks livestock or other domestic animals without provocation, it shall be prima facie evidence that the dog or cat is vicious. After notification by an animal control officer, that the dog or cat is vicious, the owner thereof shall keep the dog or cat chained or muzzled or in a secure enclosure at all times, or have the dog or cat humanely destroyed, or turn the dog or cat over to animal control officers for humane destruction at the animal shelter. Okay. It appears to me that the problem that folks are having is with the term vicious. I can't change that term. That's in the animal control ordinance. We have to go by what the animal control ordinance says. If you have a problem with the term vicious, you need to talk to your county commissioner, and they can get that changed. But the problem is not in a word. The problem is in the action of the dogs. The dogs, according to testimony, were on Mr. Keithley's property and attacked Mr. Keithley's dogs. And that happened at least 2 occasions. Therefore, under the animal control ordinance, that is, that is repeatedly. So it fits under the animal control ordinance to be cited as vicious. Now, Mr. Kirkland, since your dogs have been cited as vicious, you're going to need to keep those dogs either chained or muzzled or in a secure area at all times. They cannot be roaming anymore. And if you're not able to do that, then you can turn it over to animal control, the dogs over to animal control. Officer Campbell, I'm going to ask you to monitor the situation and sit on a regular basis and make sure that those dogs are kept in a secure area or muzzled or chained. And as far as, I think the testimony was that there's over $1,000 of medical bills. Now, we can't do anything about that. This is not a court of law, and I'm not a judge. And you're going to have to, if you want to pursue that, you're going to have to do that through the courts. But I would suggest that you and Mr. Kirkland get together and discuss that. Neighbors ought to be able to do that. So, any questions about this matter can be addressed to Mr. Campbell at Animal Control.
I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Campbell.
Is there any way that vicious thing can be reversed? In other words, the paperwork withdrawn? Say he agrees to pay him $1,000 and he dropped that complaint then?
I have no authority to change that at all. Now, like I said, if you're troubled by the term vicious, then I would talk to your county commissioners about that, and maybe they can get the animal control. You've got some county commissioners. I think your county commissioners would be Commissioner Monroe and Commissioner Stinnett, I believe. And if you need their phone numbers, Ms. Pitts will be happy to get that for you.
But that's only changing the statute, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To me, there's nothing wrong with the statute.
Excuse me?
There's nothing wrong with the way it's written. It's just this is a specific instance.
Yeah, okay. But in this case, there is evidence that they did attack domestic animals, causing injury. And so I'm going to have to deny the petition. So this hearing is over. I appreciate y'all coming.